Sports fans of Real Talk and Hoops Insight, stay in the game with NBA legend Sam Mitchell. Now you can show your love for the In the Game podcast with exclusive merch from the In the Game online store. Coffee cups, caps, grab bold t-shirts, cozy hoodies, sleek thermal drinking cups, and more. It's all with that signature Sam Mitchell swagger. Visit InTheGameStore.com today and get in the game with Sam Mitchell, because it's more than a show. It's a lifestyle on the In the Game Network. fraction more. Thousands all over the world are dressed out, and yet only one man is ready to start. He played with Garnett and the Minnesota Timberwolves with a career that started with the Indiana Pacers and earned the NBA Head Coach of the Year with the Toronto Raptors. You hear him on Sirius XM Radio and saw him on NBA TV. And now, get the buzzer ready. Start the clocks. Blow the whistle. Right now, it's time for former NBA head coach In the Game with Sam Mitchell.
Welcome to In the Game. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell. We got a lot of things to talk about today. The New York Knicks have a new coach in Mike Brown. There was a huge trade that I need to talk myself through this in my mind to try to figure out what these teams are doing. Also, don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to In the Game Network. We're on various, what's that? What do you call it? Networks? Various networks.
Various networks.
What, YouTube? Where are we at now? We're on what? Give me all the sites that we're on.
We on YouTube at In the Game Network.
Yeah.
We on the Built for This Radio Network. Of course, we on One Man Cave. We also on IG. You can watch the show live on IG at One Man Cave. And we're doing some TikTok too. So
okay.
But yeah, Amazon Fire. We're on Amazon Fire Ruco. So we had a lot of different places right now.
But don't forget to hit that like button In the Game. Also, every Monday, the raw side of things in the Game Network with our host,
Sir Bam Bam.
Sir Bam Bam.
Yeah, yesterday's show was real good. We had Big Sam from Lil Jon and the East Side Boys.
Oh yeah?
He was on, he had some riveting news. I mean, he talked about how the East Side Boys, they beefing with Lil Jon. Lil Jon owed him money. Lil Jon stole money from him.
Wow.
So, he was drinking out of his gas can. He got a gas can that he has, I guess, some sort of alcohol.
Oh
here.
my goodness.
And so once he hit that a few times, he started letting the beans spill, man. And man, we got some good stuff.
Maybe that's what you need to do for me to get me really, really going, so I can blame it on the alcohol. So I can tell you how I really feel. No, I'm just joking. I give you my true thoughts and feelings each and every Tuesday and Thursday on In the Game Network. Now, we had look, let's touch on Mike Brown first. First of all, congratulations to Mike Brown. I know Mike. I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're more acquaintances. Obviously, we've coached against each other, been in the same circle. Got a chance to be around Mike. First of all, a Class A individual as a human being. Good man. Strong, honest. I think what people get confused with Mike, they think Mike is soft. Mike is not soft. Mike coached LeBron James and coached some other high-profile players. And I tell people this all the time. Veteran, high-profile players are difficult to coach because they know the game, they're smart, they have most of, if not all the power, and they make all the money. And their teammates are smart enough to understand if there's a fight between the coach and them, 9 times out of 10, the player going to win. Unless the coach's name is Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, somebody like that, Greg Popovich, or Eric Spoelstra. Other than that, you're going to lose. So I just named about 5 coaches and 3 of them retired. So your chef's knife is not going to be long. But that being said, Mike Brown is a tremendous coach, tremendous defensive coach. I think he's going to do well there. The problem now that I see with this is that he has no slack, no leeway. If they don't get at least to the NBA Finals, I could see New York Knicks going out looking for a new coach because the pressure's on. When you factor in that Boston is without Tatum, Indiana without Halliburton, Dame Lillard, we don't know where he's going to end up, but he's now in the Milwaukee Bucks uniform. They've decided to buy him out and stretch him out. And so when you look at the Eastern Conference and you look at, and I say this all the time, this is what got Tibbs fired. If the New York Knicks would have lost in 7 games to the Boston Celtics, Tom Thibodeau would still be the coach. Listen to me carefully. If Tatum doesn't get hurt and the Knicks lose the 7 games to Boston, he would still be the coach. But this is what happened, the line of things that happened. New York dominates Boston. What people forget, even before Tatum went down with that torn Achilles, New York was winning that game. It was probably going to win that game to close them out. So here the Knicks are expecting to lose to the Celtics, but to show growth by forcing them to a Game 7. Now, lo and behold, they beat Boston, and clearly they was the better team in that series. Now, guess what else happened? The freaking Indiana Pacers upset the Cleveland Cavaliers. Same Cleveland Cavaliers, who for most of the season had the best record, who 2 times in an 82-game schedule had 2 16-game winning streaks. Nothing that has never happened with all the great teams to win 16 in a row twice. Those Cavaliers, who had multiple All-Stars, multiple All-NBA guys, who had the Defensive Player of the Year, and the Indiana Pacers upset them. So now think about it from this standpoint. You're the Knicks. You're expecting to lose a 7-game series to the Boston Celtics. You're clearly the better team. You're going into the Eastern Conference Finals. The Indiana Pacers were supposed to lose, if not to the Bucks, clearly to Cleveland. They upset Cleveland. So you're sitting here saying, here's the Knicks, here's the Pacers. Then you go into game 1. Up 17 with 6 minutes and 20-some seconds and change. You lose game 1. Come back game 2. You lose game 2 at home. Karl-Anthony Towns sits on the bench for about 8.5, 9 minutes. So now you're down 0-2. You come back and make it a series, but you lose that. And see, now what happened as the playoffs went on and the Knicks played better and better and got more successful, the expectations within that organization just grew out of control. And then all of a sudden, boom, we should have been in the finals. We should have been playing OKC. And then this is what's on the Knicks' mind. You go back to the last game, Knicks playing OKC. I watched that game. The Knicks was kicking OKC butt in OKC until the Knicks ran out of gas in that fourth quarter. OKC pressure and their ability to go deep into their lineup won them that game. But the Knicks had kind of proven something to themselves that they could not only play with OKC, but they felt like they could beat OKC. And so you had all these expectations and all these things in the Knicks people mind. The people make the decision. All these things had lined up for you to win the championship or at least get to the finals. And you lose to the Pacers and you lose the first 2 games at home. So I understand the coaching change. But this is my counter argument for not making that change with Tibbs. I saw growth in the coach. I saw the coach change. I saw him make adjustments. I saw him extend his bench. All the things that you have been critical of him of, I saw improvement. And this is the thing. Larry Brown used to say this all the time. No matter what a coach age is, as long as he's showing growth and learning and getting better, that tells me that guy hadn't plateaued out. He hadn't bottomed out, right? He hadn't reached his full potential. And Larry Brown used to say this always. As a coach or a player, you should never stop learning. The day you feel like you have stopped learning is the day you need to get out. So I saw that growth in Tom Thibodeau. But the Knicks decided to go in a different direction. And the thing that was befuddling to me about that, how do you fire Tom Thibodeau and you don't already have a verbal commitment from another coach? Whether he's coaching on another team or he's out there free, you don't have that commitment from that guy. And so here we are today. The job lands at Mike Brown's feet. Mike's an excellent coach. I think he's going to do a great job, but now that I don't know if he can do a good enough job under these circumstances other than get to the NBA Finals.
Well, let me ask you, because you kind of touched on it, that the Knicks fired Tibbs and they didn't have a clear plan in mind. We heard reports they went out to Udoka in Houston. They went after Jason Kidd. Yeah, they was even trying to get the Atlanta Hawks coach. They were trying to get a whole bunch of different guys that eventually turned them down, or the team said you can't talk to them. So how does it feel? And I'm not saying you probably ain't never been in this position, but how do you think Mike Brown feels that knowing that he's not the first option, he's not the second option, he's not the third option, he might be the 5th or 6th options, but he's expected to win the championship this year?
Now, I was in that situation. People don't know this. The year that I won Coach of the Year in Toronto, kind of through an embassy, I was approached and I knew Brian Colangelo, he never hired me, right? When he came in, I was hired by Rob Babcock, blessed dead. Rob passed away years ago from pancreatic cancer. And he hired me. And when they moved on from Rob Babcock, I was still the coach. And it was all this talk because of Brian Colangelo never hired me, never interviewed me, didn't know me, that my time in Toronto was going to be short. I even anticipated getting fired. But I think when he came in, he gave me an opportunity to coach. And, you know, make a long story short, I ended up winning Coach of the Year. But the year I won Coach of the Year, it was still that talk that I wasn't his guy. And so my agent at the time, my player agent at the time, we had kind of got rumblings that the Knicks were willing to entertain Mike D'Antoni going to Toronto for Brian Colangelo, who he had a relationship with, and myself going to New York with Donnie Wash. And I wanted to do it. And if you ask me why, because Brian Colangelo didn't hire me. And shortly a year and a half after that, he fired me. And we always knew that was the kind of elephant in the room, that because I wasn't quote unquote his guy. And Wayne Emery used to say this all the time, Brian, your coach, your guy should be whoever's sitting in that seat getting the job done. Period. Whoever's sitting in that seat getting the job done, that should be your guy. It shouldn't be some guy that you're going to fire a guy doing a good job. Bring in a guy that's got to learn all these personalities and learn everything and learn the vibe of the city, the pace of the team. And then that guy got to become successful. And so I would have been willing if it would have came out publicly, and he didn't want to do it. And he simply said to me, because it wouldn't look right from his point of view or through the public point of view, me winning Coach of the Year and then him swapping me for another coach. But my comeback to him was, you don't want me. I'm not your guy. How many times have I heard that, right? Not just in the media, but within this organization, that I'm not your guy. And I'm fine with that. You gave me an opportunity to continue to coach, to prove myself. Now that and if me winning Coach of the Year and us becoming a playoff team and putting the first banner conference championship up there in the Raptors, if that's not good enough to earn your confidence and a little bit of your trust, then just go on and swap me out. Let me go to New York with Donnie Wash, who I played for Donnie, who Donnie traded for me back in the day, who I had a relationship with, compared to a guy that instead of working with me, trying to help me develop as a young coach and cultivate me and put me in an environment where I can grow and get better, you were always trying to cut my knees off. You were always trying to put somebody on the staff to spy on me. What are we doing? Now, this is what blows my mind about these general managers who want to put people on coaches' staff so they can report back. What are they reporting? Any and everything and who you are as a coach. I get to see 82 nights a week, 82 nights a year on that floor. I get to see how we communicate. I get to see how we play defense. I get to see how we play offense. I get to see what kind of men we are. Do we have mental toughness, physical toughness? Are we in shape? Do we respect the game? Do we respect the coach and coaching staff? Do we have a culture? All that is on display for 82 nights. Plus, when I was the coach, my practices were open to all people in basketball ops. I had one rule. When you came to my practice, someone was at the door, they gave you a practice plan of what we were going over that day. Printed out in detail, the time, what we were doing, why we were doing it. Had a practice plan every day. I had one request. No talking and no phones in my practice, because I don't want interruption. I'm at work. This is my classroom, right? This is where the coaches and the players get better. That was it. If you was in basketball ops, whether you was a general manager or president, or were you an intern, as long as you worked within the basketball ops, you were welcome to practice. So what was I hiding? So what was the need to try to infiltrate my coaching staff by hiring someone that I didn't know and didn't trust, like these GMs do, and put them on the staff? It's ludicrous. It doesn't make sense. Why? Because who we are and who we're going to become as a team is on display for millions of people to see every night. So you're going to be able to judge who I am as a coach based on the team and how they operate on the floor. It don't get much better than that. See, Nadi, I can lie to you and tell you I'm going to do all these things, but at 7 o'clock, It's going to be on display. Words don't matter at 7 o'clock. It's how your team performs. So that's what I never understand about these general managers putting these guys on the coach's staff. All you're doing is creating an environment to make it harder for that coach to win. Let me give you an example. Let's say now I'm filling out my staff and you're the general manager's guy. He brings you in and says, Coach, you got to put this guy on your staff, James. He's going to be a good young coach one day. And you already know this guy's there for 2 reasons. To learn all your stuff, so one day he can replace you. Right? See, what people don't understand, Mark Dagnall was placed on Scott Brooks' staff a long time ago before anybody knew who he was. He was placed on his staff. And it wasn't a choice that Scott Brooks was given. All right? Now, turned out the guy learned, came up through the ranks. They made him the head coach. He's won a championship. Understand it. But this is what's done. My thing is this. You're tying the coach's hands behind his back. Not in nobody. This is just human nature. If I don't know you and trust you, nobody's going to let you see their weaknesses in front of people they don't trust. So as a coach, let me tell you something, people. There's not a coach in the history of the world, and I've had lunch with John Wooden, who I consider the smartest and brightest coach. There's no coach that knows everything about everything and about all people. So when you do this to a coach, he's not going to let people around him know his weaknesses. How do I help a head coach if I don't know where he needs help? Think about it. Because I'm not going to let you see my vulnerability because I don't trust 2 or 3 guys on my staff. And I don't want them running back to the GM. Hey, guess what? We're in the mean. Coach don't really understand this type of thing on pick and roll defense. No one understands everything. That's why you have coaches. And now I'm going to say this, and this is a knock on assistant coaches. This is what pisses me off about assistant coaches. All you see assistant coaches doing, the majority of them, trying to act like and be like the head coach, trying to see what he sees. I used to tell my assistant coaches this, and this is something I live by as assistant coach. How can I assist you if I only see what you see? How can I give you different advice and a different viewpoint if I'm looking at it through your eyes? My job and my expertise, being a former head coach, being on your staff, is supposed to see things that you don't see, because sometimes as a head coach, you're too close to it. I used to have my friends who was in coaching, out of coaching at the time, always watch my games and give me a scouting report. And I guarantee the scouting report that my friends gave me that was out of coaching and the self-scouting report that me and my coaches did was always slightly different. Why? Because they took a step back and looked at my team from an objective point of view and from an honest point of view. Me and the staff, we're looking at it, and the hardest thing to do, Nadi, is to be objective and completely 100% transparent about your own team. Because there's some inside of you that's going to always, in your mind to cope with it, going to always make it seem a little bit better than what it really is. Think about it. The way the human mind is designed, when all hell is breaking loose around you, when all 4 sides of the wall and the roof is burning, something in your mind tells you that it's going to be all right, right? So you always have that, and I guess God instilled that in us to keep that hope and to keep that drive and to keep you going and not to give up. But you have to understand that. And so I would always have outside people look at my team and give me an evaluation because I always understood I was too close to the situation. I'm coaching these guys every day. And so that's my pet peeve with assistant coaches. They get so caught up trying to get a job by proving that they're ready to be a head coach. Hell, first prove you're ready to be a good assistant coach. Because to me, you can't be a good head coach until you prove you've been a good assistant coach.
Well, on that note, I was going to ask you, and I'm still going to ask you, because Mike Brown, as a head coach, I mean, he's had some success, but not to the caliber of winning championship. He doesn't come in as a championship head coach.
He doesn't have a championship
but
pedigree.
As an assistant coach, he's been a part of programs, particularly Golden State, that has won championship.
Let me tell you how much that means.
Okay.
Very little. Yeah, you got to look. First of all, Nadi, the team that he has in New York is different than the teams that he had in Golden State. Let me tell you the number one mistake not to make. Don't try to make the Knicks the Golden State Warriors. And you would ask me why. Why wouldn't you do that, Coach? Well, personnel. Show me your Steph Curry. Show me a guy. Is Jalen Brunson going to continuously move without the ball like Steph Curry does? Because if you remember now, when you watch Golden State play, he's their number one scorer, but he doesn't initiate the offense. Right. He may break it down sometimes and pass. Once he gives it up, Steph Curry move and cut and use the screen. In order to play that way, you got to be in tremendous shape. How many guys I can count on one hand in shape like that? Indiana Pacers are. How many teams you can say it about? Okay, that's the first thing. Second, you got to have a guy like Draymond Green who can handle the ball and can initiate the offense, who can be your de facto point guard. So it's all these different things and shooters you got to have. So that's the first thing. So then people say, well, can you play Golden State defense? You can play hybrid variations of it, but you can't totally play it. Where's your Draymond Green on defense? See, Draymond Green can guard guards and bigs. Where's your Draymond Green? So if you don't have that guy like that, people say, well, OG, close comparison. So you got a guy like that. So the thing that Mike Brown's going to have to do is look at all the things when he's been a head coach, Cleveland, Sacramento, Lakers, and then as assistant coach in Golden State, and pick and choose and draw from little things that he think his team can do that they can excel in. But he can't take everything that the Warriors did and how they did it and just bring it to New York because the personnel and the mentality is different. You can pick and choose certain things, but you can't bring the whole meal over. It just don't work like that. So it's going to be different. Look, I hear that. We're going to switch topics a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the things going on in the Summer League. We're going to think about some of the players early in the Summer League. I don't want to get too deep into it because I'm not a huge fan of the Summer League because it has turned out to be what it used to be and what it has become. It's not the same thing. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to In the Game Network. We'll be back with more of this and stuff.
All right. In the Game with former NBA coach Sam Mitchell is taking a break. We'll be back in less than 2 laps. This is the In the Game Network. Sports fans of Real Talk and Hoops Insight, stay in the game with NBA legend Sam Mitchell. Now you can show your love for the In the Game podcast with exclusive merch from the In the Game online store. Coffee cups, caps, grab bold t-shirts, cozy hoodies, sleek thermal drinking cups, and more. It's all with that signature Sam Mitchell swagger. Visit InTheGameStore.com today and get in the game with Sam Mitchell because it's more than a show. It's a lifestyle on the In the Game Network. On the In the Game Network with Coach Sam Mitchell. Lean in right now to hear what the coach has drawn up on the chalkboard.
Welcome back to In the Game Network. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell. We still got to work on this in and out now. I mean, your timing, no music, no cue. I mean, dude, you're supposed to be getting better. You take
man, you must didn't hear that rejoin. Yo, ears, see, that's what happened when you get up in age, man. Your ears start not working the way they supposed to.
Well, my ears may not work as good, but my foot and my hands do. If you want to feel these, when we put these hands on you, keep calling me old. And I'm going to show you how the old man can throw these hands.
Sound, how many new knees you got?
All right. I don't need no knees to throw these hands.
All right.
These hands are quick now.
Yeah, but
One thing people don't know about me, when I was young, I've box Golden Gloves.
Really?
My dad, before I played any sport, my dad had me in boxing because I had all this energy, as he said. And being the youngest son of a bunch of brothers, I got picked on all the time by my big brothers. And so my dad entered me into boxing so I can learn how to take care of myself. And so when I started tapping my brothers, my little older brothers back that was close to my age, I started tatting on their head a little bit. And my dad, when they would mess with me, would say, okay, y'all go get the boxing gloves. And he had these oversized gloves that we would put on and let us go at it. And the difference between me and my brothers, I actually enjoyed it, learning how to box. And my brothers, they want to, they just want the street fight. And my dad would have fighting rules. Couldn't kick, you couldn't wrestle. It wasn't like the UFC, right? My dad would make you box by the rules of boxing. And I would wear those guys out because they want to wrestle. Yeah. You can wrestle.
See, I came up on the lady that told me ain't no such thing as a fair fight. Do whatever you need to do.
Well, y'all thugs, man. I mean, y'all thugs. Y'all have no honor. No honor, dude. Thugs. Okay? Street fighters.
Well, speaking of honor, the Miami Heat just made a trade and LA gave away, they didn't give away, but they traded Norman Powell, who had a very good season.
Dude, not just a very good season. Norman Powell can start for you. He can come off the bench. He could be sixth man of the year. This guy's a legit 20-point scorer, whether he starts or comes off the bench, and efficient, and a good three-point shooter, and knows how to play. He's just, look, man, I think he's been a tremendous player for the Clippers because think about it. Whenever they didn't have Kawhi Leonard, Norman Powell could step in that role from a scoring standpoint, and they didn't seem to miss a beat. And so I'm still trying to figure out, I know John Collins is going to the Clippers. He's 6'9", gives him more size, but he's not near the player that Norman Powell was. Not near, not even close.
Well, he offers, I guess he offers
so
them
let's
another.
Trade out for our listeners out there. Norman Powell going to Miami. John Collins from Utah is going to
the Clippers.
The Clippers. And then
Utah got Kyle Anderson. They got Kevin Love, who I'm hearing they're gonna buy out Kevin Love. He's gonna be a free agent.
40 years
and they
old.
get a future second round draft pick.
So to me, I understand why Utah is clearing space because they're trying to make this kid AJ happy, right? Because he didn't want to get drafted there. So they're just getting rid of any and everybody that he perceives that may want the ball that would be a threat to him, which I don't understand it. I don't. Some of the moves, Sexton and Jordan Clarkson, I get. Those guys, they're just volume scorers and shooters. I get that. John Collins could be a rotational piece or a starter for you. So I understand them trying to clear the deck for him. But from the Clipper standpoint, as I said, John Collins is not near the player that Norm is. So I didn't understand that.
Explain to me, because I think Norman Powell, I think this is the last year of his contract.
That's probably why.
Okay.
The Clippers probably looking at their payroll, probably got to pay Zubac. He's going to be coming up for a new deal.
They just gave James some money.
Just gave James Harden a 2-year deal extension for about 40-something a year. Hey, man, all these teams are starting to get physical responsibility now. Yeah. Starting to watch their bottom line.
Well, what did this do for Norman Powell? Well, like I said, he's going to the last year of his deal. Tyler Hero is going to want an extension soon. Bam, he's already paid. Bam is good. But then you got Wiggins. Wiggins going to want to get. So I'm saying from a player standpoint, you're trying to get a new contract. But it's only so many shots available. You said scoring is important.
Well, I think when you look at the pecking order, man, they're going to be nice when Norman Powell may be your best player. Now, that's not taking a shot at Bam. That's not taking a shot at Tyler Hero. That's not taking a shot at Andrew Wiggins. But when you look at a guy with a motor to go get it, Norman Powell gives you that. I think this is a very good move for Miami. I think this makes Miami, it gives them a puncher's chance in the Eastern Conference because now they can flat out just score, right? Tyler Hero can shoot the basketball and score. Norman Powell can go get your buckets. Now it kind of takes that pressure off Bam trying to make himself a 20-point scorer when he's not. Bam is better for you when he's getting you 18, 9, 3 or 4 assists. and he's playing great defense. When Bam has to try to get you 25, no, that's just not who he is. They went out and got a legit 20-plus point scorer in Norman Powell. Watch out. And I think the way they can manipulate their cap space and stuff, this is a move. They're going to keep Norman Powell. This is not bring him in for 1 year. I think this is something they're going to do to keep him. Because, and let's be honest, there is no max player. Just because you're the best player on the Miami Heat team doesn't mean you're a max player. That's why these teams got themselves in trouble. They started giving guys max money because they were the best player on their team. Just because you're the best player on the team doesn't mean you're a max player. And that's where a lot of teams get their salary screwed up. Some of these guys, you got to go to them and say, look, yeah, you're the best player on this team, but you're not a max player. Max players, to me, all NBA. If you're not all, just because you make an all-star team here and there, to me, doesn't make you a max player. Max players are all NBA. Look at that all NBA list. Giannis, the Joker, Tatum. Those are max players. Karl Anthony Towns been twice an all NBA player. Brunson, all NBA. Those are max players. Making the all-star team does not make you a max player. And that's the problem with some of these guys. Let's go here. Halliburton. Is 18 points, 9 assists, max money to you?
I can't say so.
There you go.
I can't say so. I mean, now his impact as far as leading the team.
I hear all that.
Helping lead the team to a championship opportunity.
Didn't win a championship.
Came
close.
Once again, this is out your mouth. If he doesn't go down, maybe we having a whole nother story.
Yes, we're having, but we're talking about from a sheer talent.
I'm saying, so what's
when
the
you
value?
Pay guys, to me, can we win when I pay you max money if we have less of a roster?
Okay.
Maybe if we don't have the depth. Think about this. With Indiana, you could point to one game that Tyrese had a definite imprint on that they won. Other games, TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, Pascal Siakam. But when you go to OKC, it was one or two people every night, either Shea or Jay Will. That's why they won every night. You can go to Indiana. Dude, I can make the argument that TJ McConnell overall had a better finals than Tyrese Maxey. Look at the numbers. Look at the shooting percentages.
Halliburton.
And look at the team. Look at how the teams were excelling and playing when he was on the floor. Now, was Halliburton nicked up? Yes. But, dude, that's part of it. Yeah, injuries are part of it. You can't say, well, if they're not hurt, because we don't know. Part of this is luck, and part of this is, did you train yourself? Did you take care of yourself enough to prevent some of these things? Because some of these soft tissue injuries are preventable. You have to understand that. So I'm just saying, man, at the end of the day, I think where a lot of teams get themselves in trouble, they overpay their best player and assume just because he's the best player, he's a max player. And that's not the case. Laurie, example, look at some of these teams. So you're telling me right now the Sacramento Kings have a max player on their team?
I wouldn't say so.
The Chicago Bulls?
I wouldn't say so.
Thank you. Charlotte? They paid one.
Right. He's going, he's
Easy max.
This is my question to you, and you can help. What impact does ticket sales, ratings, and the ability, you already answered, kind of to lead a team to a championship, but you got to have a lot of players. Some guys need to have a lot of good players around them, as opposed to LeBron, who can pretty much put a team on his back.
Let me give you a list of guys. And see, this is the reason why I've been so anti-trade.
And I say that because Melo is going to draw tickets.
I say this, Melo draws a lot of attention online. It ain't people turning and buying tickets in Charlotte. Just because I go online and look at your numbers and your highlight, that don't mean don't put actual butts in the seat. Look at Charlotte. Ain't filling up that arena. Look at, the reason I've been anti-trade Giannis is because whether they win or lose, that arena's going to be full every night. They built a whole entertainment district around that arena in Milwaukee. And Giannis is fueling that. Every restaurant, every bar, packed. Game day, game night, after the game. That's why the Milwaukee Bucks will not trade Giannis, right? Okay. To me, max player. Let me get it. I've already told you what a max player is. All NBA, not an all-star. Because if you've been an all-star 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a row, you're going to have made an all-NBA team during that time, right? You're not going to be a 5-time all-star in a row and not make all-NBA 1, 2, 3 years.
Right,
4 years.
right.
Okay? So, how many all-NBA teams LaMelo done made?
But I don't think he made any.
How many times they done won 40 games? 35
right.
games. Okay?
Right.
You see my
I
point?
get your point.
Okay, now think about it from this standpoint. Right now, because they're losing, they're going to continue to get high picks, right?
Right.
What if one of those picks develop and become better than him? Now think about it.
It's going to be hard to do when he's taking all the shots.
Wait.
Because Brandon Miller is good.
Hold up. But you're still losing. So let's just say Brandon Miller turns out to be better. But you're still losing. You're still winning 25 games. You're still in the lottery. Now, Brandon Miller going to come to you and say, you paid him and we weren't winning. I'm better than him. Look at my numbers. But Brandon, we're still not winning. Hold up. You didn't use that criteria when it came to him. So now you want to use a different criteria when it comes to me. You can't do it then. Because Brandon Miller, people not going to go for it. Because this is what they're going to say. Don't get smart with me. Don't get smart when it's time to do my contract. Oh, so you're saying you don't want make the same mistake with me as you made with him, paying a guy max money when we're not winning or even close to winning. Don't get smart with me now. Don't treat me different. I want my cake and eat it too. So that's the problem. Once you do it once, you got to continue to do it. And I say this all the time. No matter how far down the wrong road you've traveled, it's never too late to turn back. And I think teams think because they've done this, they can't reverse.
Right.
And so you just keep locking yourself and just burying yourself deeper and deeper in that hole to where you can't get out of it.
Right. We've seen, speaking of getting paid, Banchero in Orlando just got 5 years, $287 million.
Yeah. Now, this, when I look at him, though, I look at it a little different from this standpoint. He was number 1 pick of the draft, which means he's super talented. He's 6'10", versatile. Every year, his scoring has went up. And he only played 40-some games because of oblique, but he averaged 25, almost 26 points a game. You expect him at some point during that life of that contract, he should make an all-NBA team, first, second, or third team. Don't you see it?
I see it.
When you're an all-in now, him, I pay him. I don't take him This is the thing. Dude, if I take you number 1, you better be good enough to get a big contract. There's a reason why I took you number 1. I don't mind paying the number 1 pick when he puts up 20, 25 and 9. That's why I took him number 1. That's why he's the number 1 pick. Talent. I have no problem with that signing. They did the right thing. Cade Cunningham. He's another guy that you max out, which they did. Talent. What pick was Cade Cunningham?
Number 1. Right.
Okay, it's a reason why those guys get paid. Super talented. But there's some other guys that have played well. I wouldn't max out. I wouldn't max out Chet Holmgren right now. Chet Holmgren's not a max player. He's not. I pay Jalen Williams. He's not a max player. I'm not paying Jalen Williams max. I pay him. I pay him 35. May go to 40. He ain't getting what Shea got. Why? He ain't been all NBA. He's not MVP. Made the All-Star team. Guess what? Water Serbia had made the All-Star team. Was he a max player? And that's my friend. No, I'm just saying.
No, I get you.
People make All-Star teams.
Right. Cal Corver made All-Star team.
Thank you.
Right.
Come on, bro. That don't make you max. Julius Randle, who been all NBA, remember, second team, and was up for a contract extension. He didn't go to the Knicks and say, you got to give me a max deal. He took less. Why? Because Julius Randle knew, man, I'm not a max player. Don't put that pressure on me. Don't give me this money, all that money, and then expect me to play at that level. And when I don't, and the fans are coming down on me, can't handle it. So, dude, sometimes these teams save the players from themselves by not overpaying them or putting them in a category that they can't play at that level. So there's a lot of guys that are really good players. Just because they're the best player on your team does not make them a max player. There's some more teams out there that's going to get ready to do those same mistakes. Because this is the problem now with Charlotte. You've already set the precedent. You've already set the table that winning does not matter when it comes to getting paid. Only numbers and your perceived talent. How good are you in a basketball team, on a basketball team, when it's 5 guys on the floor and we never win? Aren't you supposed to make people better?
Yeah.
Okay. See, now don't make me go back to my football, because you know I'm that same guy that thinks all these football players been sucking by a group of agents, thinking the quarterback should get all that money when he can't do diddly. Quarterback, if the quarterback's so good, that means I shouldn't have to have a good offensive line. That means instead of having 3 points from second pass, he should be able to do it at 2.5.
Well, I'm saying no quarterback has ever won without a good offensive line.
Well, why are we paying him all the money? If
I
these
agree.
guys can block.
I agree.
Get sucker, man. Don't do it. Look, we hit the music. It's time to pay some more bills. When we get back, we're going to kind of switch topics a little bit in the game. We're going to talk about some social things going on, and we're going to touch on some topics that we feel like need to be touched on in our way. You listen to In the Game. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell. We'll be right back.
All right. In the Game with former NBA coach Sam Mitchell is taking a break. We'll be back in less than 2 laps. This is the In the Game Network. Sports fans of real talk and hoops insight, stay in the game with NBA legend Sam Mitchell. Now you can show your love for the In the Game podcast with exclusive merch from the In the Game online store. Coffee cups, caps, grab bold t-shirts, cozy hoodies, sleek thermal drinking cups, and more. It's all with that signature Sam Mitchell swagger. Visit InTheGameStore.com today and get in the game with Sam Mitchell, because it's more than a show. It's a lifestyle on the In the Game Network. And we're back on the In the Game Network with Coach Sam Mitchell. Lead in right now to hear what the coach has drawn up on the chalkboard.
Welcome back to In the Game. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell. We kind of got it right this time with the music and not cueing me in. When I went to break, I kind of teased we're going to pivot away from sports a little bit. And, excuse me, when I started this show, majority of it is going to be about sports, but a lot of things that we talk about are going to be everyday kitchen table things. As we venture into this podcast, we're going to talk about daily events. We're going to talk about things that are pressing in the news, where it may be political at times, and what's going on right now. I don't know how you would categorize it as political, but to me, it's a tragedy when you look at what happened in Texas with the flooding. And Nadi, in my lifetime, we've been dealing with, the weather has gotten worse and progressively worse. We've seen tornadoes magnify. We've seen hurricanes. Now, there's no such thing as tropical storms anymore. It's full-blown hurricanes that are hitting us now, category 4 and 5 all the time. Same as tornadoes. Now we saw the flooding in Texas. And man, to look at the loss of life, I think so far we're at 108 confirmed dead. And we know that number is going to be more. And you and I got into kind of a heated discussion about the circumstances. And, you know, people always injecting God when things bad happen. Oh God, it must be God's will. Well, Nadi, the God that I love, the God that I serve, the God that I trust, I just can't fathom in his will for 108 plus people and 20 children to die in a flood that man could have avoided. People put this on God. God didn't do this.
Yeah.
God, hold up. Over the course of years around that river, God didn't build up. God didn't create erosion. Yeah, there's natural things that happen.
Correct.
Floods happen. But guess what? God has given us the brain power, the technology
Mm-hmm.
to give us warnings. And all we've been hearing thus far, the officials don't want to talk about it because don't nobody want to take the blame that feeble funding has been cut. That there could have been an alarm. That river has been flooding for years. I saw a video online from 1987 to 86 when William Shatner,
30 years ago.
yes, was talking about the flooding and the life, and that these kids they interviewed that they got on the bus because they got a flash flood warning. They told them grab their stuff. They were at a camp, at the same camp. Grab their stuff, jump them, put them on the bus. One of the kids described as they was going down the hill to try to get across that low spot, the water rose too fast and was coming in the bus. The bus driver got all the kids off the bus and they started climbing trees. And that's how they survived. So this has happened before. Now, this is the question. Was the proper warning systems in place in an area that you know floods? I lived in the Midwest. I lived in Indiana. Guess what happens in the Midwest? Tornadoes.
Right.
We wasn't shocked when the weather got gray and it was hot and you had that cool air coming, that funnel clouds. We understood living in the Midwest, tornadoes, right? We live in Georgia. 2.5 hours, 3 hours is the coast. Off that ocean, we don't get hurricanes, but we get the spinoffs, which are tornadoes. We get them. When we hear that siren, you get inside, you stay away from windows. For me, not having a basement, I have a closet because they say that's the strongest part of your house. Go into a closet. Now, 85% of the time, 90% of the time, is the storm actually strong enough to cause damage or hurt us? No, thank God. But I still take the precaution. You and I got in an argument because you're saying that people out there are equating this to God's will.
No, that's not what we were arguing. We weren't arguing. I agree with everything you just said. My argument was based on the simple fact that the government is creating some of this weather. And I put up a tweet that was by Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I'm not a fan. Let me preface myself.
She's a Georgia homegirl.
I'm not a fan of her.
Yeah,
I never voted for her.
I'm not either. But I think I can be fair enough and objective enough. There have been a couple of things that she has been against that I agree with. I think one of the things about the AI technology, the government want to control it and stuff like that, taking power away from the states. She was against that, which I agree. And then to your point, now what is she trying to introduce a bill?
But let me just say that this is the lady who says I approved of the Big Beautiful bill, but I didn't read it. But that's not here nor there. This is a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I am introducing a bill that prohibits the injection, release, or dispersion of chemicals or substances in the atmosphere for the express purpose of altering weather, temperature, climate, and sunlight intensity. It would be a felon. I have been researching weather modification and working with the Legislative Council for months writing this bill. It would be similar to the Florida Senate Bill 56.
Okay.
My whole point is that proves to me what people already knew, that the government is altering weather. They're modifying the weather. And we just had a flood, not only in Texas, we just had a big flood in Tennessee.
And North Carolina.
The same week.
Yeah. Okay, now this is what I say. Now, I have heard where they can shoot certain chemicals in the air to create cloud cover to try to
Right. They
get
got
rain.
cloud seeding.
And because of the damage that we've done over the years to our environment, to our ozone layer, to atmosphere, God knows what we've done to damage. We've had droughts in certain parts of the country that have been devastating. And so God has given us the technology and the human brain to try to create some weather and create rain over a dry part of the country where it's desperately needed. Now, how do I feel about that? I'm kind of indifferent for this reason. Because of our lack of stewardship in taking care of this beautiful planet that God made perfect for us, the way that we've polluted it and the way it doesn't function the way it's supposed to, we've put ourselves in a position to where we got to use our brain power to try to counterbalance some of the damage that we've done to the environment. So I understand that. I need to see more research. I need to see us as a country sit down and have this conversation, because there's a responsible way to do things and there's an irresponsible way of doing things. And I do understand what you're saying about man always trying to meddle into God's work. But this is the problem. We've destroyed the ecosystem so bad to where it's probably going to take some of our meddling to get us through to the other side. I don't know if we can fix it or reverse the damage that we've done, but we've put ourselves in position to where we got to think our way and use science to get through some of this stuff of the damage that we've caused.
And that's where we sort of disagree. I believe that the body heals itself. I believe we have created a problem. We have messed up the ecosystem. We have messed up the ozone layer. We can't fix it. We try.
Nature can fix itself.
Yes.
Now, one thing
that's what I would say.
During the pandemic, when they locked the whole country down, didn't it seem like after about 2 weeks of no cars, no airplanes, no trains, no nothing, like the earth stood still, didn't it seem like you went outside and the sky was bluer? Didn't it just seem fresher? Didn't it seem like when we just went 2-3 weeks with very minimum activity on this planet, it's amazing how things started coming back, right? And so I agree with that standpoint. This is the problem, though, Nadi. It's going to be hard in some areas of the country because the coming back means sometimes you take a step back to take 2 steps forward. I don't know, man, but look, it's something I think we do need to have a discussion about. It's something that I think that we got to be even more responsible about. But Representative Green does have a point, but my only thing, not is, and you're pushing hard, man, because the body and this planet will heal itself, but can we afford to give it the time that it needs to heal? That's my only concern, and I don't know that. Look, we're gonna get out of here right now. You hear that music? You've been listening to In the Game. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that like button. Don't forget to also tune in every Monday at 1 o'clock with the raw side of things with Sir Bam Bam, who's doing his thing on the In the Game Network. Also, we're going to have more programming coming sooner than later. We've been talking about it. We're going to launch some more shows. But again, don't forget to hit that like button. And to all our players out there, man, please stop hating the game and start hating the way you approach the game. I'm your guy, Sam Mitchell, your coach, and you've been listening to In the Game. Until Thursday, I'll holler at you.